What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. I have returned after a much needed break, and I wanted to thank you all so much for being patient and remaining subscribed to this channel. So, this weekend I had the opportunity to play an alpha release for the upcoming FPS game Lawbreakers, and I was super excited for this game because I'm a huge fan of arena shooters and grew up playing games like Unreal Tournament and Quake. And guys, let's face it, when was the last time you played a good arena shooter? You know, it's been years, maybe even a decade, so I was hoping that Lawbreakers was going to make arena shooters great again. Instead, it delivered a massive, super duper mega bummer of a disappointment. Before I go any further, I want to clarify one thing with you guys. All this footage that you're watching right now is from an alpha build of the game. This means that everything you see might change in the future for hopefully better, or maybe even for worse. The gameplay also only represents a small sliver of the content the game will have at launch. Alright, so my biggest complaint about Lawbreakers is the fact that it doesn't feel like an arena shooter at all. It is billed as an arena shooter per its Twitter feed and marketing, but it just feels slow-paced, generic, and simply out of place in today's market. The movement system is awkward and doesn't feel smooth at all, and the gunplay was equally out of sync and lacked a proper rhythm and flow. So let's break down these points really quickly. First, the characters in the game looked pretty cool, but they just felt really bland. I don't know what to say about it, and there were really 3 attacker classes and 1 tank class. And they had different guns, they lacked special abilities that really, changed the gameplay, and that's probably the biggest complaint I have. So, in Overwatch, every character in that game has a specific role that plays into the gameplay. And Lawbreakers, really, the characters felt a lot like the specialists from Call of Duty, where they simply just have a unique ability that's good for killing other players. And the problem is that you can't really customize an individual character to better suit that ability. And the exception to this was, I think, the tank class, which actually got a huge, a huge buff in damage and health whenever she activated her special ability. So in the future, I'm hoping that this game, there's going to be more classes that have the ability to really affect gameplay. And maybe you can add something like support units that can heal other units, or even buff the stats and attacks of other players. Second, the gameplay modes were kind of boring. There was a mode that was a lot like Hardpoint King of the Hill, where basically you need to secure 3 areas on a map every few minutes, and it was good and all, it was pretty unique. But the most annoying thing is that these areas were only active for like about a minute or so, and then after that minute, it's like they would go offline and you'd just be attacking other players for no real reason. It's a lot like you're playing an objective without the objective for a minute until the objectives activate again, if that makes any sense to you. And I guess the whole point of it was that they want to give you time to prepare for the next points, but instead it just became rather tedious. The other game mode was a lot like Capture the Flag, where you need to secure a battery, yes, a battery, and take it back to your base and keep it there for a few minutes. This again felt really slow and stagnant because it basically encourages camping. You would basically have to rush the objective, take it back to your base, and pretty much hold it there, like camp, for about a few minutes, and this got really boring really quickly. Like, imagine you're playing Capture the Flag, and all everyone's doing is just camping the flag, and they're not even, returning it. It's just a camp fest. And lastly, my biggest complaint about this game is that it doesn't really give you a real reason to switch. Every game needs a gimmick or a pitch to attract new users. For example, Battlefield 1 is set in World War I, and it kind of has this historic gameplay to it, this old-time, gunplay. Infinite Warfare is the exact opposite. It's set in the space, and it's all sci-fi themed. This game doesn't really have anything that stands out or makes you want to go out and buy it. And in fact, if I even recall correctly, this was actually supposed to be a free-to-play game, but at the last minute they decided, you know what, let's make this a pay-to-play game for some reason. So I'm not sure why they did this, because there's so many better FPS games that you can go out and buy, like Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, or even Overwatch. And guys, that about does it. While I'm really disappointed with this alpha, I'm hoping that Nexon Studios can take this criticism and make the game even better. And I really want to thank Nexon for giving me an alpha key to this demo. Sorry if I sound really harsh, but, the whole point of an alpha release is to gather feedback and make the game better. Thanks guys for watching, I really appreciate it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay safe and stay frosty.
On a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to 0.